Beckman Unleashed podcast number 42.
We are
Eric,
live.
We're live. Bro, you said I looked like Max Headroom.
Yes, I did.
What was up with
Your
that
hair was
show?
even higher before.
What was up?
Your
That
head
was a
was-
crazy show.
That's a throwback, my friend.
That is a throwback. I don't even understand the show. He was like in a TV or something. Very strange.
I just remember the hair. That was the main thing.
Yeah. Well, I think our audience for this podcast is a little bit like, it's our age. So I think that's going to really hit a nerve with people. Max, yeah. So.
Yeah, I know you have something up your sleeve because I was asking you what I should do for the podcast, and you're like, don't worry about it. So I knew you were being shady. I do want to say, number 42, Jackie Robinson. I think we can end it there with that one. That's pretty good, right?
Who's that? Who's that?
Never heard of him before? Yeah.
Only most famous baseball player ever. And Ronnie Lott.
Yeah, that's true. You did your research,
right.
or did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. Someone comment. I did know that, but I didn't think of that. And a commenter said that. So, hey Eric, you have that video? I went viral on TikTok as a meme, which is pretty funny. Let's play it for these folks.
Let me see if I can bring it up for you.
So what happens?
Something really funny.
I will. So what really happens, or what happens on TikTok, is they make they'll take something out of context, and then they will I've seen it with this fisherman guy. Well, he'll be like, oh yeah, I caught this big one, and I think I'm gonna take her home or something, and then it'll be like me 2 a.m. at the bar, right? They'll do so. These person made my go get method into a meme like that. Can you make it bigger?
I don't know if I can make it bigger. Let me see.
Go full screen.
These are the types of thing I should continue as a guest.
I
don't know if I can zoom it.
Just play it.
Fine.
So she says,
and you're gonna watch
me
updating.
updating.
You're gonna watch
Can you hear this?
And I'm not gonna beg him, and I'm not gonna go get treats. He knows I can't get him. It's the funnest thing in the world to this guy. We are not to be completely played with. We're not jokes. Okay, this isn't fun. In a weird way, they get it. His body language did change. He kind of knew I wasn't giving up.
Funny.
And we're over it. We're done. Let's go, Laura.
I like when I'm scaling the wall.
And I might not.
Watch.
It depends on how big of a joke he thinks I am. I doubt he's going to come to me.
My favorite part is
see if he thinks it's a big game. And I asked it in a tone. He didn't listen to me, but it made an impression.
Right there.
He let me get to him, and he could have ran away, and he didn't run away. Then when I got him, I was not mean to him, but I was not super nice to him either. But there was no real consequence. There's really no reinforcement. There was really no punishment. Not a great boy. He is not a great boy, but he's not.
All right.
Did not do the worst thing in the world.
So real quick, for all of our audio listeners. Yeah, okay, go ahead and read it so that the audio folks can hear what it said.
It says, me updating my friends on that one toxic situationship I'm trying to make official. And apparently this hit a nerve with women. Okay, if you go to the comments, and there's thousands of them, they're like, this is me, this is so true, and everyone's laughing, and people really liked it. So
you finally arrived, my friend.
Yeah. And a bunch of other people made videos with my voice saying the same thing. There's like 50 more people who made videos like that.
You're no longer a local dog trainer anymore, and congratulations on 500,000 subs, my friend. That's a pretty big deal.
YouTube. Which one thing I learned this week, I'm more in love with my YouTube people than ever, because I'm getting bigger on TikTok and Instagram because I'm posting some things on there, and they're not even close to as cool as the YouTube people. Not even close.
No, I think the YouTube people want to learn, and TikTok people are like trying to be entertained.
Yeah, they're trying to be entertained. Instagram people are they're on there for, I don't know why they're on there, and they're like angry people. You said that once, and I didn't agree, and now I see it.
I feel like it's more IG is more angry people, whereas there's a lot of argument and stuff on Facebook and IG. Whereas I feel like TikTok, there is a little bit more of an element of fun that goes on, I feel like. But I mean, do you agree or no?
Totally. Now that I've gotten a lot on, well, I posted this thing on Instagram, that video, that go get method video, I posted a minute of it, or 20, 90, 89 seconds, because you can post 90 seconds. And it's just an excerpt from my go get method, which my go get method is after you've trained the behavior, and it's when your dog ignores you. Like, that's what it is. And people are like so mad at my go get method and me, like they're super angry about it on IG.
Because of how no nonsense you are about it?
No nonsense, but it's a short form, right? They don't see the whole thing, so they don't get it. But it's been interesting. This last week has been interesting. TikTok, some dude started posting all my videos, of which and he's got like 100,000 followers from just taking my YouTube videos and reposting them on TikTok. And I've tried to ban him, and like TikTok does not care. We should hire him.
No, they don't care. They don't care. We're just like, hey, can you do that with our videos? It's not going to be good when he beats our YouTube subscribers.
He's on his way. The problem is, like, people are like, hey, Joel, can you help me? And they're messaging him, and I don't know what he's doing with this stuff,
Yeah, remember early on, I found some people that had posted your videos entirely, and then they were putting like links below. So we reported them because I don't want them sending people that think they're following you to like some, hacker link or something like that. So,
he could start,
we got to protect the pod.
Yeah, he could start sending links and be like, hey, give me money. And people think it's me,
Yeah, there's like an impersonation risk. I've heard that with a lot of influencers where they're like, oh, I guess you're finally an influencer now, man. Congrats.
I guess so.
Your life is complete.
Yeah, I'm not sure if
I think
that's the life I want, bro.
You've heard me say this to you in the past, right? Which is that all publicity is good publicity. There's some level to that. Like at this level, it's showing that you have arrived, that people are making channels of your stuff. It's kind of a compliment. You could take it either way, I guess.
No, it's a compliment. Here's what I was thinking about this week, Eric, and I'd like your opinion on this. Nobody gets out of this thing being life without like taking arrows. And there's no easy sled through this thing. Like you want to be an influencer, which I've literally never called myself that, and I'm still not. You're gonna freaking take your fair share of arrows. You want to be a celebrity, bro? Your ego is going to kill you. Is going to kill your soul. You want to be poor? That sucks. You can't go to the dentist. Like you can't get your teeth fixed.
Yeah.
You want to be rich? Okay. Yeah, you're gonna have like no one's getting out of this thing without serious
some arrows.
A lot of arrows. And I'm not positive of which way is the best. Everyone wants to be rich, right? I'm not sure that everyone wants to be famous. Not everyone wants to be famous. I've been thinking about the famous thing. Sorry to cut you off. Bro, these really famous people, it's so abnormal. And the ego, the Freudian ego is so big in them that I believe they essentially die inside. Unless they can somehow fight against, of which me and you, have talked about essentially fight against that internal, I'm better than people. If they can fight, they have to fight against that, or their soul will die, I believe. Or they'll just become so big, their ego's so big that it's weird.
Yeah, they lose like a connection with normal people. And I agree. I remember, so I was on a Hawaiian island, and not the one I'm on now, but I was on another one. And I don't like to use the name of that one because the people there prefer people not to know about that one. So I rather respect their wishes. But I cannot speak on which one. It's a confidential island that I cannot tell you. But when I was there, I got, we got an email or whatever with some pretty harsh criticism. And I was like telling you, and then you were like, bro, I don't care what people think. You're like, I like what we're doing. I was like, all right, whatever. But it's like when you're in a certain mode of thinking and you're doing something, especially if you're doing something like you're just out in the woods doing your thing, then like you get this like negative energy. You're kind of like, what the hell am I doing this for? But then you kind of think like, who cares? Like ultimately in life, you have to do what you want to do, and you need to take the consequences of that, which in your case is, there's going to be for you several thousands, if not more, people that just don't like you for whatever reason, mostly because of they do not believe in your philosophy, and it's basically, it's not even your dog training philosophy. It's like you have a certain worldview and they have a completely opposite worldview. So everything you're going to disagree on 1,000 different things with those people.
Yeah.
And that's just because you have 500,000 people and that's just on YouTube following you now.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
got to take some arrows, my friend.
Bro, you're absolutely right. And you gotta take it with humility and understand that there's good that comes with it and there's going to be bad that comes with it. And that's my point. If you want to be Jamie Dimon or something, right? Like,
yeah,
he's rich, he's famous, he's got a cross to bear, right?
Yeah, he's richer than he is. He's richer than he is famous, just because, like, I mean, he's a public figure for sure, but he's also, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, which probably the most famous bank CEO, but at the same time, like, a lot of people don't know who he is, which is probably a better thing for him. But he also has a cross to bear from a responsibility perspective. And I've talked about that before, like somebody who's in charge of a $3 trillion bank, and he's in charge of, hundreds of thousands of employees. A good leader actually cares about that. Oh yeah. No, he for sure is extremely influential. I was actually, it's a funny thing. I think people give stuff a hard time about, thumbnails and clickbait and this type of stuff. I was showing my dad today about the different people on like Yahoo and Yahoo Finance who they just put your picture up there, right? So they'll just do Jamie Dimon, they'll do Warren Buffett, they'll do Trump, they'll do a few others. I forgot who they were, but they have just a few people. And if you just scroll down, it's just like Warren Buffett, Warren Buffett, Warren Buffett, Warren Buffett, Trump. And it's like, why are they doing that? Are they in the news, or is it just that's what gets clicks, right? And of course, we know from doing our limited amount of kind of marketing that it is because, certain things get the clicks and, there's ad revenue behind it. So they want to get whatever they think the viewer is going to click on. So there's the negative side of being, a lightning rod, so to speak.
Yeah, there absolutely is. And I'm not completely positive that, that money or fame really does like outweigh. You hear about like famous people and they're like, my happiest times were when I was 20 and broke, Now, I don't think you want to be 50 and broke necessarily.
Yeah.
I think you got to go through that process. My point, what I've been thinking about and I didn't think I was going to get into this, is what I've been thinking about over the last couple of weeks is ego, like my own ego, like me not thinking I'm special. And I've had moments where I kind of like think I'm freaking special and I'm unique. It's different than thinking I'm good at my job. Okay. But thinking I'm actually better than the homeless guy or than this other guy or this girl. Like I talked to my wife about it on the phone when I was in Mexico. I'm like, I'm no better than anybody else. And to like think that for a split second is really bad. I don't mean better like if I like look down on somebody and like how bad that is, and then to have that times 1,000 if you're like actually a celebrity or you're actually, it's hard, it creeps in and you have to actively push it out constantly.
It's the devil. It's the devil, my friend.
It's the devil, bro. You're absolutely right. And the more you creep it, the end thing is narcissism, which is essentially human evil.
Center of the world.
Narcissism is essentially human evil. Bin Laden, Hitler, evil. This is a different kind of evil, but narcissism is it's destruction. And the more you creep that way, the one tiny step is the worst human being you're becoming, and the more you're dying. And so you constantly, or I have to constantly push against it. I don't think I have a nature towards that, but you get told you're good at something a few hundred times. You need the people in your life or something saying you're not special, bro. You're freaking
You need
dude.
people like me. You need people like me that don't think you're special.
Yeah, I have other people in my life that do, and I don't even think I'm not special.
That's
I'm
what
just
wives
saying
are
I don't.
for. That's what wives are for.
That's true.
Keep
That's
you
what a lot of
grounded.
things are for. Yeah. So
No,
anyway, that's what I've been thinking about.
No, I like that whole train of thought, and I think as far as being humble, and also I've been thinking a lot about stuff about controversy, and I think we've generally done a pretty good job of staying out of the controversy, although we flirt with it here and there. But I just thinking of all the different things like social media. Like for Lent, I gave up diet soda, so you can see me drinking. Remember, I was drinking a lot of Diet Cokes and stuff like that. So drinking some soda water, and then I also gave up junk food and social media. But one of the things I've been thinking about is all of the controversy, or like, hey, did you hear this guy said this, or did you hear this, or these people disagree with these people, and I'm like, I don't care. I don't care about what those people are doing or what anyone who disagrees. And I find that the people that are at the highest level seem to care a lot less about what the other people are doing, in that even in their space and in other spaces that are competition wise. Like, I don't hear Mark Zuckerberg, as an example, like talking about Bill Gates all the time. Like, I don't hear it. I mean, maybe he does and I just don't pay attention, but for the most part, the people that are at the top of whatever industry they're in are really not that concerned about what other folks are doing. And I just don't want to spend a bunch of my time getting into the minutia of he said this, or whatever, when there's so much better stuff to focus on in life,
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I didn't plan on getting into that, but that's what I've been going over thinking about this last week, is like ego and humility and how important it is. I see these celebrities.
You can't have that much ego, because the way your hair looks right now, I mean, and then you're kind of going with it. You're actually like pushing it upward. So you're like,
well, because it keeps
looks
coming.
like
Yeah,
Tosh
how can
2.0
you
or something.
ego when you look as bad as I look?
You look better than last week, though. You looked like a 75-year-old man last week. So it's all about the lighting, my friend.
I look horrible.
Right?
It's all right.
And
yeah,
we want to be honest with our audience, right? And just let them know, like, these are not actual brick walls behind us. I know they're fooled, but like, we got to be clear.
To that point, so Danielle Poddick, those backgrounds, I almost choked on my food. So she liked our backgrounds last week. Why didn't you guys choose different backgrounds? LOL, says Jakester. So people are fascinated with our double background last week, so we decided to do a double background again.
We're leaning into it. It's like, no, we're gonna fool you guys into thinking we're actually sitting right next to each other like normal. Am I on the same side as normal in our videos, or no?
I have no idea. My brain can't handle that when things flip, and like who knows?
It's not your specialty.
No, I think this is the right place. I want to highlight a comment from Off Grid Dogs, because I thought this was genius. And Off Grid Dogs says some off the wall thing. The guy's, he's
no way.
I've been to a YouTube account. Yeah, Off Grid Dogs is off the grid. I do know that. He lives somewhere in Montana or Colorado.
That's why we love him.
He's a little bit crazy like us. But he said something I've never heard and I've thought of, and I think it's very smart. It's about how I've been loving babies. Like, literally, I see them and I'm just like, oh my God, a baby. And I just like babies. And I didn't even like when my children were babies. Like, I didn't even like them that much. So he says, Joel, you're now I'm liking babies phase. That's Mother Nature preparing you for grandpa times.
That's hilarious.
Bro, no, that's so smart. Because if you think about it, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, if I had my kids at 23, which was normal, and they are now 24, I would have been the age I'm at now. So 30 years ago, I would have been ready to be a grandpa. Hundreds of years ago, I have 2 teenagers. Thousands of years ago, they would have been ready to be parents.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying? So my point is, Mother Nature, I've always thought, and my wife always thinks like, oh, maybe you want another baby. He's saying, no, I'm being prepared for being a grandfather, which I've never thought of. And I think is true because I've had a psychic change in my feelings about babies.
It's really
new.
weird. It's weird that you notice it, but also as I think about it, there's like life stages, right? So like at this kind of whatever 20 to 45 age, there's like this kind of known, especially for men, no nonsense, like take over the world. And then the kids, fathers love your own baby and, give them hugs and so forth. But like until they're like 3, 5, 7, there's this different level of connection until they can do things. And, and then women generally love the like newborn babies, right? They can't get enough of it. And most guys, and I don't want to speak for most guys, but are like, oh yeah, whatever. There's a baby. It's a baby, whatever. But the thing that's interesting for me is that my dad was in the exact same position where he was more like gruff construction worker, like angry to some degree, right? And just, getting by and providing and being, I think there's a lot of pressure in being that provider and so forth. So he does all that. And then it was like when my oldest came around, and he was probably, we'll call it in his 50, like maybe 50 or so in that range, maybe 55 or so. And he was just like carrying her around. She would like point and then he would just like move her around. And then he would just get on the ground and play with the toys and be like, oh, you want to do this? We'll do that. Let me go get this for you. And I was like, who is this guy? Where did this guy come from? This guy wasn't around when I was a kid. What the hell?
Yeah.
It's nature, my friend.
It's weird. Something in the brain changes that I'm like weirdly experiencing. It's very strange. And here's my opinion. I'll keep this quick, but for years I saw friends or coworkers, they would be a married couple. They would have children, but they would want to keep their same life. So I'd see on Facebook 15 years ago, a friend having a kid, and then they'd be like 6 months later, they're like in Vegas and they're finally got out, like having a great old time traveling without the kid. And I'm like, I know who's watching that kid. Grandparents are watching that kid. Or we'd bring a SeaWorld friends, like we'd go do something, and then with the kids, and then the grandparents would show up with one of the kids. And I was like, when did grandparents just become daycare? I'm like, when I'm a grandparent, I'm not freaking daycare. If my kids want to keep working, both of them work, and then like so they can afford a pool and be like, you watch the kid because we both need to work because we need a big house. I'm gonna be like, no, bro.
You won't be though.
Job. What?
You won't.
Well,
you won't. You're gonna be all soft-hearted. What if that grandkid is like the most amazing thing in your entire life and your whole world? Because think about it, as you get old, like, your kids, they become adults and then are less interested in you. But I think there's something really important about legacy. And then with kids, like even with my mom, who's, my mom and my dad are the same age, but with my young kids that I have, it's like they are so important to the adults. But I mean, you have to be thinking if you're like mid 70s or like lower 70s, you have to be thinking about like the end of life and stuff like that. And you see this like new round of kids coming in and you go like, this is what matters. This is the future because I'm not going to be here forever. And so like, I want to enjoy this time with like, these are kind of the next version of me. I know that's not some like profound thing that I didn't come up with it, but it's true, right? Your kids are like the future of you and your grandkids are even the same kind of thing, right?
I agree with you. And why I read that quote from Off Grid Dogs is I'm changing in that way. However, I will probably say to my kids, I want to be with your grandkids, so I'll do that. But I am going to probably say to them, like, I mean, I'll watch them, but I'm not going to let them off the hook if they want to freaking travel. Don't have kids if you want to act like you don't have kids. Don't have kids if you want me to be daycare because you want a pool and you want a big house and you both want to work. Like me and my wife, we didn't go anywhere. I don't think we've still gone anywhere. Like because we're with our kids.
Do you want to punish your kids?
Why? Because they're with us?
Here's what I would say. I would say,
have you and Megan gone on a vacation?
I mean, we're kind of on one. But
without your kids.
So
Yeah, people go on
I don't
vacation
think we've
without
been
their
away
kid.
more than a day. I don't think we've probably maybe a night, maybe
Yeah,
maybe
night's fine.
maybe
2
not.
nights is fine.
But no, yeah, not more than a night probably. I don't think we've had a weekend away in years.
Yeah, it's
Like
how it should be.
But what I would say to you is,
There's no
you'll
getting
love
out.
this, is like, don't tell me what you're gonna do. You don't know what you're gonna do, right? 10 years, you get this kid. They name him Joel. They name him Joel Jr. And
Don't name him
he's
Joel,
just,
dude. That's a horrible name.
yeah,
But go ahead.
yeah. So they name, you see this kid, he looks like you, he acts like you,
Yeah,
looks
that's
like a
true.
mini you, and you're gonna be
Oh.
like, this kid is the greatest thing in the world. And you're like, hey, why don't you guys go to Vegas and I'll take care of the kid? So you're not really sure what's gonna happen in the next 10 years.
That's true. You're right. I don't know how I'm going to feel. That's a good point. I may want them to. That's a good point.
Yeah. Sorry, I apologize for the sound. I also apologize for last week. I was under the weather like you would not believe. I got some type of flu. I think I told you that after the thing was over. And my daughter also got the flu or whatever it was and was throwing up at the hotel. We weren't at a hotel, but my mother-in-law was at the hotel, so we went over there. But man, I was feeling like a sack of you-know-what during that podcast. But you know what? The show must go on. And so now I'm outside trying to get a little bit more, sitting here in front of this brick wall and trying to get a little more, because it's dark. It's hard to like see your face. I mean, it looks like I'm on Star Trek. Like, what is that little teleporter thing that they do? It's a bit sketchy. Yeah. Who watches this podcast? What are you up to? What are you doing? You gonna read something?
You want to hear the voicemail that's going to? This is from
Change
Under Duress. Under Duress. Frequent commenter. Ready?
I'm ready. I've never heard this, by the way. Louder.
The topic of putting dogs down, when it's the best thing to do and when it should be avoided. I have an evolving opinion on the topic, and it's almost never without internal conflict. The key points I'm interested in hearing your opinions on would be influence, that aren't able to walk around, but aren't in obvious pain, but create a demand for more time, resources, than what may have been expected, wanted, or even affordable. I do have a personal history with that. Big dogs, that they cost a huge amount of money, possibly extend the dog's life with the chance of it getting better, and are in pain.
Okay.
Dogs that were weird, which ended up becoming a greater liability or responsibility than when first considered. Sometimes this happens when people even inherit someone else's dog. Nuisance feral dogs that cause property damage and or are a danger to people and other animals. And aggressive dogs that attack unprovoked.
Okay.
This topic does go beyond.
Okay, can you?
Dogs. There may be other scenarios.
I know it's long, but I want to give Under Duress his time.
Okay, it's a little choppy for me.
I hope they heard it through this mic. Okay, he basically
It's okay.
Under Duress. He asked about putting dogs down, which I don't think we've covered up here. Talked about like old dogs, when to put them down. Sick dogs that are going to old dogs when they're in pain. Sick dogs when they're costing money. Dogs that become a liability. Feral dogs. He talked about all dog putting down situation, and I thought that was a good topic.
Yeah, so that was the bulk of it. Yeah, and this also applies to grandparents and stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Or
yeah,
no?
Absolutely. So here's
Okay,
my thinking. Here's my opinion on it. Okay. I heard that, and then I thought about it, and I thought it was a good topic. So I could go through every one of those situations in my opinion on it. Bosco, my first dog, had bone cancer. He broke his leg. His mind was super sharp. His body, he could literally not move. He couldn't poop.
Mm-hmm.
We had to put him down within about 24 hours till he started to. We had to put him down. He had to be put down. So that would be the invalid dogs, right? And we just have to put him down. And it sucked because his mind was still right, and he was being put down in our house, and you could tell he was fighting it because he was like, his mind was good. Okay. But, oh, and then I had a client this last week, a dog, a little fox terrier, took his finger off in one bite, cut his pinky off. He had it cut off right about there. Little terrier, little strong terrier, took his finger out. His thumb from the other dog was almost taken off by the other dog. These dogs were fighting so bad. The man was 68 years old. He is in the later stages of his life. The stress in that house was so high. Stress kills people. You got to think about this man's life. Okay. So we talked about rehoming the dog. We talked about a lot of things, and we talked about putting the dog down. You only get one shot at this life. You got one shot at your life.
Like Eminem.
Yeah, like Eminem. One shot. You got to think about your own life and your wife's life and your husband's life, and get the noise of society out of your head. I'm shaped by a couple things. I believe in God. Okay. I believe that people are have some dominion over animals. We eat them, we care for them. I believe that. There is a societal pressure that's happening that is trying to say that animals are as valuable as people. That's the animal rights movement, and it has permeated the force-free dog training movement, and it has permeated life. But it is not true. Dogs need to get put down sometimes if they cannot, for a variety of reasons. There's that video of that dog killing a seal in Hawaii. I've talked about it many times on this podcast. The guy filming says, "Drown your dog." The lady looks at him like he's crazy.
Yeah.
Why is that seal's life less important than that dog's life? Seals are super smart animals who love their children. He just killed a wild seal. If that seal's still alive, maybe that dog needs to go, not that seal.
True, but what about the other side of, like, what if Prince gets a squirrel? Like, if Prince gets a squirrel, no one gives a rat's you know what about it.
Even animal rights has levels to this thing. Rodents are
So,
down
like,
here.
but why? So rodents are just low level.
They are. Even animal rights
So
believe.
why?
Because
So
they
believe
don't.
like elephants are the pinnacle.
I would say I'd say it's three things: pain threshold. Okay. I'd say it's caring for young, and I would say it's intelligence.
Maybe I should join this animal rights group. That sounds smart.
Yeah.
Or is that,
no,
is that
that's
not
me.
animal rights?
That's what
you.
I'm
Okay,
saying.
never mind.
So there is a
Okay.
hierarchy. I believe
But they
we are at
believe
the top
everything's
of
the
it.
same, right?
I believe if your dog has the potential to kill a child, the dog should be put down.
A lot of dogs have a potential, right? To kill a child? Or to
I
kill
don't know about a lot.
another dog also. A lot of dogs
child?
too.
Oh yeah.
But to kill a dog,
Dogs
I mean to kill a
kill other
dog.
dogs. You can't run around and just kill, kill things if you're a person or a dog.
But you can, but for like varmints and stuff, you could do that, right?
Yeah,
It
rodents.
could even be encouraged in some sense, right? Rabbits, maybe. Like, I bet Prince would
Rodents.
go after a rabbit if he saw one.
Yeah, Prince is a squirrel killer. He hates them.
But he's not a bad guy.
No, it's
He
a
has all
rodent.
that pent-up energy from last week.
We
Poor
talked
guy.
about that last week. Yeah, so I don't know if I'm answering under duresses. I'm not answering his question. His questions were very specific. Aggressive
But
dogs.
it's a general theme, right? A general theme of when is the right time to put down a dog, and then like reasons for putting down a dog, right? And obviously he said, or he's talking about there's physical limitations, right? Or basically it's quality, part of it's quality of life, right? For both the dog and the owner.
Yeah.
Right? Like if the dog,
Yes.
there's a level of it's kind of like with my cat, crapping in the house all the time and peeing in the house at a certain, like, so it's not like I didn't, get rid of her, but I put her outside, worked best for everyone. She loves it out there. And But
Yeah.
there's a quality of life thing where you're like, this is insane. Like, I don't mind cleaning up, 30 craps, but I don't want to be cleaning up 1,000. Or like at a certain point, you're just not going to put up with it. And so that's where we
Yeah.
draw the line. And then the other side is, and then even with me, I feel like pretty much any animal that's suffering, right? You'd think you would, as a having dominion over animals, as you've said, you have a responsibility to end that animal's life if it's hurt, right? And that could be even from a small bug, even a bee, right? If a bee's like missing its wing and it's like limping along, right? Like, I think the right thing to do is to just get rid of it
For sure.
so that it doesn't have to suffer, right? That'd be wrong.
Yeah.
Otherwise.
So I think it goes through levels, like where you go, can I train this dog to not do the thing that is affecting my life drastically or people around me? Okay, I can't. I don't have the finances. I don't have the ability. I don't have the physical ability or the mental ability to do it. Okay, I'm going to try to rehome the dog. Okay. There's a number of ways to try to do that. And as I tell clients, you give it the old college try. So you try your hardest because you took this dog in, it's your responsibility. So you try to rehome the dog. If you can't do that, you then get to the point of thinking about euthanasia for your dog, which is a very, like, a horrible thing to do. I'm going to wheel this healthy dog into the vet and put them down. Well, if they have the potential to kill a child, you do that. If they have the potential to kill innocent dogs and you can't train them and you don't have the money to train them, maybe you do that. What if they're just costing you money? What if they're just, it's a financial thing? Well, that's where I think you don't go there. Like, you screwed up so bad, you got a dog you can't afford, that you maybe you go broke trying to fix this dog. You use all your money.
But like you talk about with all of your clients, right? Like, well, but I have the dog now, right? So that's kind of like a sunk cost. Like, that ship has sailed. It's like, we're here now. Now what do we do? And I get, you could say, well, like, because you can't really say that there's any, they have to bear any cost or any, they have to bear whatever, you made the decision. So now it's your turn to go to the grave with this thing, like, hell or high water. I just don't think that's realistic. And also, like you said, you only have one life to live in this world. The human does. And so they shouldn't be ruining their quality of life either, so that they can make up for the guilt that they have for whatever they did. And just like, I mean, that's why it's interesting, like, with rescues, right? Because essentially when you rescue something, it would have probably been put down if either someone else didn't get it, or, if it doesn't get down soon enough, it is going to be put down. And so, but this is kind of weird. Actually, let me know when you're done. I was going to bring up a similar situation about euthanasia, but I will wait till you're totally done on the dog stuff.
I'm almost done. I'm a little bit like pushed back on society, and I see society going a certain way with animals are as valuable as children, and I just don't believe that. So I am not. Oh, this place is a no-kill shelter. Like, it's a great place. Oh, great. They like never put a dog down. Like, what is that? There's dogs that need to get
that's a
put down.
double-edged sword. Well, it's a double-edged sword anyways, right? Because like, just because you don't kill it, it's like they'll have the same dilemma that the owner had, right? Like, well, now the dog is suffering, or now the dog has a horrible life and is never going to get picked up, and there's 1,000 dogs ahead of it. So it's like, we're just going to put it in this cage for the next 5 years. Like, oh, I feel so much better, Yeah.
Yeah. And people, I know people, they put their dog on Facebook and said, hey, anyone want my dog? And they just get destroyed.
Yeah, I told you what happened with my wife on that when she was trying to rehome the one that was crapping everywhere. Like, she was like crying because they were like so mean to her. Like, you made a decision, and it's like, people are so full of crap. And the thing is, it's all the virtue signaling. Like, oh, I would never do that. It's like people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Like, let's go look in your dirty closet and see what what you're up to. It's like everyone's so
Oh,
squeaky clean on the
bro.
internet, and you also
Bro.
wouldn't say that at the dinner table, right? But yet they feel
Say
comfortable
what?
saying it online. It's just like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
why are you giving your dog away? You're a killer, like, but they wouldn't say that to your face, generally speaking.
Can you imagine, like, that glass houses thing is so true. Like, people have so many, like, deep, dark secrets. Like, everybody's got, like, something, and then they're online, like, acting like they're better than, like, they don't know that people, that adults, not kids, but adults are like, you probably have, not you, but people, they all have something, and you're online acting like you're better than people. Like, it's so,
Oh yeah. Well,
adults
I have a
know you're jacked up. You're an effed up person.
yeah. Everyone has a dark side, or I don't know. We talked about the dark side like 2 weeks ago, but I think
They got secrets.
what I think
Everyone's
is
got secrets.
interesting too. Yeah. What I think is interesting too about this idea of the euthanasia stuff is like, here's what I think is weird. Okay, if there's a bee that's hurt, right? What are you going to do? You're probably going to step on it, right? Because it's going to die. We're not going to repair it. It's gone, right?
Correct.
And then but then there's like certain levels as you go up that hierarchy of value, right? The elephants, the cats, the different maybe a
Chimps.
squirrel, rats, things like that. Whereas like if you saw, like for instance, they have mongooses out here, right? But if you had a mongoose and you saw it, just say it was just laying on the ground outside, like you could do two things, right? You could call animal shelter or what do you call it, animal control or whatever, and they can go in there and kill it, right? Or you could just see that it's in pain and just kill it, right? Now it's going to be grotesque and you're not going to enjoy the process, and you're going to like, basically going to go, sorry. What do they say online?
Right.
Sorry, but not sorry,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then you're going to handle it. But it's like, but then as you start to go up the hierarchy, right now it's getting too personal. We can't do that, right? Now we have to pay somebody to do it for us because, right? But ultimately, whether you drive that animal to the hospital to have them do it or you do it yourself, because don't you think like your grandparents or great grandparents, like if the dog had a problem, they wouldn't have went to the hospital. They would have just taken care of the dog. And it's sad to say,
Right.
but like, I think they were mature enough to know that like, hey, yeah, dude, the dog needs to die. Like, it's sad, but like,
Yeah.
what are we going to do? And I don't think they went to the hospital like 100 years or that. I mean, they've had vets 100 years ago. Probably not, right?
Horse vets.
You think?
Yeah.
Horse, but
Yeah,
not like
yeah.
pet. They didn't have like dog vets probably 100 years ago.
I don't know.
1924?
I don't know. Probably not.
But either way, if you go back 200 years ago, there's no damn way with the way that people were living and trying to survive that they were like, oh, let me go drop my dog off here and spend $2,000 for
Right.
my dog.
Right.
My dog has cancer. Let's go ahead and get a radiation. Obviously, they didn't have radiation back then, but you get my point, right?
Yes. 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 All right. What do you want to bring up?
Okay, so this is a bit personal, but it's happening while I'm here, so I figured I would talk about it. So my grandmother, right? She developed Alzheimer's, I think, maybe in her 70s or something like that, like 75, something to that effect. And so I remember, maybe I was like, maybe this was like 25 years ago. I remember thinking, oh, she has Alzheimer's, and I was like, but she'd kind of been losing it, and I was like, oh, what's wrong with that? Like, you start losing your memory, and then they're like, no, like eventually the end is not good with Alzheimer's, and I just didn't know that.
It kills you.
Young, kid. Yeah, it'll eventually kill you, right? And so what happened was, she wasn't like rich per se, but as people that are a product of the Depression, they saved all their money, and she did okay. So essentially, they started like selling off all of her stuff. Well, fast forward 20-ish years ago, she's 97 years old now. So she's still very healthy, actually, even though she hasn't been able to remember anything for 10 plus years. And she's in like this expensive clinic, where whatever they call it, where they take care of these people, or, so that's where she is. But, you have to sell all your stock, you have to sell all your house, So basically they finally ran to the point where they are completely out of money, or her money's gone, right? And now it becomes, what do the children do? What do my dad and his brothers and sisters do? Do they continue at 97 years old, continue to just throw $8,000 a month at somebody who's 97 years old who has no memory, and in the idea of maybe living forever, or some, let's get another 5 years out of this thing, maybe spend a couple $100,000 on it. Or, I mean, that's a hard question to
Or
answer,
what?
right? Like, there's no book
Or
on
what?
that.
What's the other option?
Well, the other option, I mean, eventually there's always an option, right? Because eventually people in theory could run out of money, and then it's like, what do you do? But what you end up, there's two choices. You come out of pocket thousands of dollars a month, right? Potentially,
Okay.
a ton of money a month.
Or
You basically say, we're not paying, and then the government has to handle it, right? And then in which case they get taken out of this, like, I mean, I guess from what I understand, they send them to like some type of hospital, and then they figure out where they would go, and they send them to, like, I don't want to say it's like a state mental hospital, but that in my mind, that becomes kind of the next place. But either way, most people would agree that the care that they receive when they just go to the county or they go to the state is probably not ideal compared to what big bucks would do. So anyway, so that's what they're dealing with currently. But my dad was telling me, he was like, this is not something that she would have wanted, right? She would not have, like, she wanted to give all of her money to her kids and, like, go out gracefully. And, like, she would not have ever wanted to be a burden, right, in any way. And also, I was telling my wife, I was like, because she was talking about, like, someone being injured, and I was like, if I'm ever like that, like, I don't want to be around, like, if I'm incapable of moving and stuff, like, I don't want to live like that. Like, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong
down?
if you did.
I don't think.
I don't know. I think it depends on the state. It depends on the state.
Oh.
Certain states you can. So it's all based on the state. And so, I mean, I get there's like there's a religious argument to be posed about it and stuff. But I ultimately am diving in a little bit more into what you said about it, which is like kind of like what matters is like your friends and your family. Like, who cares what, and even to some extent, who cares what your family thinks? Like, ultimately, you have a conscience, you have certain beliefs, you pick what you believe to be right, and then you say, this is what I think we should do. And if, maybe you have to compromise, but like, that's kind of how I was, because I got involved because my dad and his brother were getting in a fight about it. And I was like, all right, let's not escalate this into a huge family feud. Like, let's just understand what the options are and then make a decision and live with it. But ultimately, right, we're all going to die. And so it's a matter of, I think, being mature enough to know that, like, when, at some point, enough is enough. And whether it's a dog or a person, like, you're going to have to make difficult decisions. And no one wants to be the one making the decisions, but someone needs to be an adult and stand up.
Yeah, this is a giant issue. I was on my way here to the facility thinking about, like, if I was going to talk about the giant, like, dog problem in society. And then I went through it in my head. I'm like, this is such a giant issue with so many levels, and that it's this is a really hard one. And we don't like to get super deep on this podcast, but the problem is, like, the whole thing about euthanasia for, like, people, it's happening in Canada. I think it's happening in Europe. And the problem as I see it is the government will start to just, like, put people down who cost money. Like, that is the eventual thing, especially in these secular governments. Like, it might take 100 years. It will go that way if you start allowing that. It will happen. Insurance companies get involved. It will happen.
What's so funny about that, though, is, like, everyone wants to be like, hey, we want the government to do this, we want the government to do that. And it's like, government should give us all the free healthcare. We should get all this type of stuff. And then it's like someone like my grandmother's at their end of life, and everyone's like, no, like, you don't want to go to there. You don't want to go to the government healthcare. So it's like, you're going to end up getting what you pay for, right? And no one wants to pay for all the stuff. So it's like, poor, like, we're going to have hard decisions to make. And, like, healthcare is just a great example of, like, we want all the free stuff, but then, like, careful what you wish for, because you might not even want that government care in the future, And I mean, you're posting the idea of, like, them just putting you, they'd be like, hey, well, think about it. Like, when you become too big of a expense to the government, what are they going to
That's what I'm
do?
saying. Put
They're
you
just
down.
like, hey, they're gonna take you out to the woodshed, right, or take you out to the pasture, or whatever that term is. It says here, euthanasia is more commonly performed on sick or injured animals, although humans are animals, as we've noted. As euthanasia for humans is illegal in the majority of the United States, so not all. As of June 2021, the only jurisdictions that allow this procedure are Oregon, Washington, D.C., Hawaii, Washington, Maine, Colorado, New Jersey, California, and Vermont. So very few, seven-ish.
Yeah, I'm not
so.
saying. I don't know if I'm against it or not. I just know the slippery slope. Many people know what the government will eventually do, and insurance companies will eventually do. You know, it's not rocket
But
science.
ultimately, right? I think the family and them should have the ultimate. They're also funny is like there's conflicts of interest too. Whereas like, what if you're old and you don't want to go, be put to pasture, and you have a bunch of money, and your kids are like, hey, like we need to put this guy down and split this money, like that seems to be another
family too.
Another
family would
issue.
be so down with that. So many families would be down with that.
Your
so
grandson's gonna be like, Joel, your grandson's like, oh, my grandfather was this super big wig YouTube superstar, man.
YouTube money.
He had 10 million followers. He was like, he crushed Caesar Milan's legacy, and man, he had just a ton of money, man. But you know what? I want to buy a new Mustang. Let's put this guy out of his misery. Right?
All right, let's get off that topic. What do you think? Hey, I met a new commenter who commented on the podcast, on all the podcasts. I'm just going to go through her comments. I'm sure you saw this. I have pages of her comments, and I'm just going to rapid fire them, and you're going to tell me what you think. And Elizabeth, I like you, okay? I'm not saying I don't. I just think your comments are interesting. Elizabeth Sedan, I have pages, and I'm just going to rapid fire them because I find her.
Can I talk about each one, or you're going to say them all, and then I have to?
We can stop, and you can talk about them if you want. Joel, okay, Elizabeth Sedan. Right. I don't know what podcast this is from. Joel, what's it like training killer whales in San Diego? Then she literally just keeps asking questions. What do you think about the cat on the commercials that has 9 lives named Morris? I want to make a Hollywood film about a man who is an alien who owns a feral cat farm. Hi, Eric. Would you ever have a jaguar as a pet?
Yes.
I stopped petting my dog the entire time when she is sleeping, and she put her paw on my foot. Joel, would you want to be a urologist in San Diego or a pediatrician? I mean, am I the only one that finds this woman and her questions fascinating? Okay.
Probably pediatrician over urologist.
Oh yeah. Oh, did we talk about that? Yeah. Yeah. I don't.
Yeah, you said you weren't big on the urology. Yeah, that's where she got.
She's actually on topic.
I think she's bringing up like the little nuances to the discussion, and then you were reading it later, thinking like, yeah, like you don't remember the nuance. It's like our Patrick's. Our Patrick's thumbnails. Like if you don't see the podcast, they don't make as much sense.
That's true. Okay, so this is for the dog parks one. As a kid, we had a cat named Tammy who had 8 kittens. Okay, I don't know what makes a puppy a Velcro dog. I love cats, but I have some allergies. Then she says,
"What makes a puppy a Velcro dog? Does a Velcro dog mean it's like smothering you?"
Yeah, it's on you. I'm going to San Diego on March 17th. I hope to see you there. All right, Elizabeth, I might see you in the streets or something. I'd like to start a business with you guys, and I'd like to grow it with training tough dogs on YouTube. I don't know. I just find her interesting. When I first got my dog, okay, what do you think about obese dogs and there's owners abusing them with too many treats? So anyway, she's a new heavy commenter that I thought was all over the place, but actually she's on topic, and I have a little more. Not that I had no respect for her. Now I have a little more respect. She's in a way, she's Ryan, our Patrick. She's just a little more, in the comments.
She's just a little more eclectic with the variety of but I definitely like that more than the people that like keep browbeating a certain issue. Like they want you to talk about like their one type of animal, and then they just hammer you with that question over and over. You're like, yeah, I know, I get you have a very specific issue that 1% of the podcast would find interesting, and you want me to answer it on the podcast, right?
Here, I have one.
Yeah, I think that was good.
Here's another one. San Diego has a reputation for being a conservative, family-friendly, beautiful beach town. Los Angeles is a great experience for raising kids and dogs too.
Are you sure?
Los Angeles
There's
might
parts-
be the worst place in the world to raise children.
Well,
Like
I think
literally
there's
the
two
worst.
things.
Mumbai,
I think what you
India
have
would
to-
be a better place.
I think you have to break everything into city versus county, right? And then even if you think about San Diego County as an example, but yeah, if you think about San Diego County, right, you've got San Diego County, which there's such a diverse way of living between all of those, right? Then you have San Diego City, but even within San Diego City, you have downtown, and then you have places like Rancho Penasquitos or Mira Mesa, which are going to be dramatically different. And then Los Angeles, you're going to have like the city. There's going to be parts of the city that are actually like out in the burbs a bit more, and
but that's
you know what I mean. Versus
too.
like
it's a bunch of, even the burbs of LA are sort of a liberal bastion of rich, egocentric people, which I would rather raise my children around. Not those
liberal
type of
people on the beach.
I don't live liberal.
You said if
Where I
you're
live in-
going to be living there, you might as well live on the beach because you live in a monster like 27 bedroom mansion, right? Hanging off the cliffs.
Yes.
You're just going to slide down at the next. Is paying
Yeah.
that type of money or what?
Yep. Oh my God, she just keeps going. Yeah.
Give me a few more. You got any more? Otherwise, I'm going to read you a comment.
I know a guy who got a purple. This is for the Withholding Love podcast. I know a guy who got a Purple Heart for serving in Vietnam with his war dog, Jake. What are your thoughts on raw food prices? Do street dogs make good guard dogs? I don't know.
Yes,
I find it interesting.
they can.
What do you think about people who
if you
own
need a
exotic
guard dog to
animals?
fight,
I love that.
Joe
I love
Exotic.
people who own exotic animals. I want to be a person who owns exotic animals. So she just kept
keep
going.
moving.
I've got
You make
pages of
yourself
it.
taller than me. I got a
Yeah.
couple of comments for you. Can I throw
Go
one
ahead.
at
Yeah.
you? Joel is literally. This is from Indie Soul Naomi. Joel is literally iconic for trashing Girl Scout cookies because it is so overhyped and something that is beyond basic. Grandma's cookies are always better.
I got a little skewered, bro, on the Girl Scout thing, I think.
I think it's funny. I think ultimately, right? Like everyone's got their own opinion, right? If you're thinking it's a bunch of bureaucracy and pitching cookies or whatever, then hey,
All right, Eric.
that's why you don't have your daughter doing it.
Yes, I want to hear your opinion.
Right.
Not on Girl Scouts. We already talked about that last week. But on, do you think that there is a large organization like the Girl Scouts or the Boy Scouts or anything like that that has not been corrupted by sort of government or corporations, that is not something large, that is not trying to train our children to be good little workers? Do you think, we know the education system is doing that, right? Which I get. Like they want the economy to run and you to go work for a boss, and they want that. We know that. That's not rocket science. Do you think there's anything like the Girl Scouts or the Boy Scouts or any other thing where the greedy fingers have not gotten in there and slowly tried to change it to be a less? They're doing it with homeschool in California. We know that. Like we know it. We know it's happening. What do you think?
Can I push back on you a little bit?
Sure.
So my opinion is my opinion would be that sometimes the idea of like that there's this worker idea that like they're trying to make good little workers. My pushback to that would be like, I think a lot of people just need to be good little workers because I feel like, not everyone can do what you do. Not everyone can do necessarily what I do. And if you think about it, like being a business owner is not easy, right? Like, okay, let's bet our life that we're right about what we want to do, right?
Mm,
There's like, not everyone's a
mm,
leader. Not everyone has the ability to just get up on their own steam. Like, a lot of people try to be an entrepreneur, and then they just, because they don't have that job, the alarm goes off, they just don't get up, right? And then they
yeah.
try to do it. And then I even ran into that a bit when I started doing some like eBay sales when I was young. I was like maybe 19 or 22, something like that. And I was buying like pallets of stuff and selling it on eBay for a profit. And I just didn't have the like go get to do it at that time. I just
All right.
wasn't motivated. So it's like, to some degree, it's like probably 90% of people like almost need a boss in a way. Like, they're not built to be like, I think, wouldn't you say, like, I don't want to say your employees, but people that maybe have been your employees in the past, that you'd be like,
So,
that person's not going to be running a business.
all right. So what you're saying is I'm thinking of it from from a from the
Diabolical
standpoint of
thing.
they're trying to create this thing that just they're trying to create little workers to just help businesses and like kind of keep these people down to get our society running. And you're saying it's actually good for the people to in a way to create little workers. It's not just, you know,
Yeah.
greedy corporations or greedy
Yes.
government. It's actually good for the everyday man and woman to sort of have a
Yeah.
system
And
in place that raises those type of people. That's interesting, and
let me
probably
double
I
down
don't
on
know if
it.
it's
Okay.
right, but it's
Let me double down on it. Okay. So this other idea would be around, well, what about the Elon Musks of the world? What about I want to say Mark Zuckerberg, I already said him, but let's think Henry Ford or whoever the big innovators were of the last century or whatever, right? Okay. If you think about these people, go, well, like, how does school help those people? But I think that the answer is like, it doesn't help them, but it's like, they don't even need help. Like, they don't, like, school is not really for the Elon Musk of the world. Like, the people that are going out and grabbing information and bringing it back and applying it, they don't need school. Like, they can go get a manual. Like, even my dad, who was like, he maybe did like one semester at community college before he was like, this is just not for me, I'm going to go work construction. Like, I would have like something wrong with my car when I was a kid, and he would be like, oh, the clutch is out. And then he would buy these like Chilton manuals. They're like these big car manuals. And he would read the car manual and like how the clutch worked. And then he would go in there and fix the clutch. Like, that's crazy. Like, I could never do that. Right. It's like, so it's like certain people, but like, so book smart wise, like, he knows more than a lot of people, even though he never went to college, because
yeah.
he can go seek information and apply it. Right. And so
Okay.
I think there's a mix between some people are better for that and some people are not. It's I don't know. I just don't think
Yeah.
of it as diabolical as you do.
All right. Well, that's why I asked you, because I can now think differently about it and not be stuck in my single frame of mind, and that's a good thing.
But I do feel like with your homeschool thing you're talking about, like, I feel like you as a parent should have a right to teach your kids what you want to teach them. I do think there should
For
be
sure.
some level of like reading,
I don't think
writing, and
kids should even
arithmetic
have to
as
go to school.
I disagree. I mean, I just think that things are so complicated in society now that, like, I don't like, because even with my daughter, my oldest, I was thinking about like college and stuff, and I was like, because she's like, I want to be an entrepreneur. I didn't want to go to college, and I was thinking, but yeah, like, if you went to like business school for 4 years and you wanted to be an entrepreneur, like say you're 18 to 22, like, and you get a degree in finance or accounting or something like that, management, like, you're not going to be any worse for wear, as you like to say. Like, that additional education and business and how like financial statements work and that type of stuff is not gonna be that bad. And I think a lot of people, they're not doing that much at that age anyways. I don't know. I think it's like there's a level of
I
that's
know.
what liberal
I
arts
know.
is all about, like, there's like the liberal arts is this idea that, and I could be misspeaking, but they have liberal arts colleges where it's like a lot of it's about the arts. Like, they make you learn poetry and other like stuff that you probably wouldn't give to whatever's about. but
Yeah,
they're trying
but
to like
I
make a
get.
well-rounded individual.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I think poetry is really good. Someone explained what I like, literally was like, I don't get the thing with poetry. And the guy I've talked about before, he talked about, I don't remember what he said about poetry, but it was very beautiful what he said about it. It's like the language, our language is limiting. Okay,
Yeah,
like the
that's
words,
right.
and it's limiting. And poetry does this other, it adds something to the language that can't be added. Or I didn't totally get it, but I never was interested in poetry until he told me that. I still don't totally get
No,
it.
you need art. Like sometimes you need art to teach you reality. I've heard
Yes.
Jordan Peterson say that. And then there's an
Yeah.
example of a book I've been reading, and I've been reading this book for years because it's super long, and I only read it when I'm in Hawaii, which is James Michener's Hawaii, which has a bunch of different like things from the beginning of time to like, but it's all about Hawaiian culture from missionaries and so forth. But it's like he tells these stories that are not true. It's fiction, but yet he's able to convey like such a profound like image of what that life would be like, even though it's not true. So it's like sometimes, and I've heard Jordan Peterson say like sometimes fiction can actually
Oh, for sure.
teach us more about real life, just like you'd say with the Sopranos or any other thing, right? Like there's a level of you know. And then I don't know, do you ever watch Dead Poet Society? Have you ever seen that or no?
Yeah.
Robin Williams. Yeah,
Yeah.
like there's, and then even you know, I love my favorite poet that I like to talk about on this podcast, Tupac, right? If you think about an example of what you're saying about complicated like situations and stuff that can like easily be solved with like a quick soliloquy, right? It's like there's a line he has, and hopefully I can remember it, but he's like saying, it's funny when it rains, it pours. They've got money for wars, but can't feed the poor. And I think that like it's hard to argue with. Like sometimes simple statements about the way that things are, you're like, yeah, like to be fair, like a little kid that's hungry, it's kind of like we got money for dropping bombs, but like even though that might not always like coincide with my worldview, there's music and other types of stuff like probably like a Bob Dylan that you probably like don't exactly agree on politically, but yet it's hard to deny what they say in their song because you're like, yeah, he's got a point. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't know if you're a
Yes.
Bob Dylan guy or not. Maybe not.
No, but that's like that's
I'll take
like
that
the
as a
poetry
nod.
reference. No, I mean,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah, or
think
a John Lennon or
most
something.
people aren't a Bob Dylan guy, but he hits some people, you know, differently.
Yeah, I'm like a
Here's
Jim Croce guy. You like Jim Croce?
no, the only thing I know about Jim Croce is I worked at a
No.
hotel and they had a
Croce.
Jim Croce banquet room. And but now, oh, and in San Diego, they have a Jim Croce restaurant down
We have a
in
place called
Gaslamp.
Croce's, yeah. It was his
Croce's,
son. I think
yeah.
it's AJ Croce or something. I grew up, I love Jim Croce. I thought he's like the greatest, but he was a storyteller. This is a great example. Like he was you know, a storyteller, and he would just, he was able to just say very simple things, and you know, time in a bottle, operator, all those like, they don't mess around with Jim, Bad Bad Leroy Brown, all these like simple stories that like really hit you. Don McLean, what's that one called? American Pie. Like these works of art are able to just like change you or like let you see in a different way than textbooks can.
Yes, that makes
So
sense.
let's fund the arts. Let's do a GoFundMe for the art programs for homeschool.
All right. Here's another one. There's nothing like the discussion of the substantiation of Girl Scout cookies on a dog training podcast. So you said last week transubstantiation. I had no idea what you meant. You said it. I let it go. They said it. And so now I'm going to ask what the hell that means. Transubstantiation?
So I believe the transubstantiation actually was said by a commenter, and then I read it. But what I was saying is that in Catholicism, when you take communion, right, with the Eucharist and the wine, is essentially the belief from the Catholics that it is actually the body and blood of Christ. So I think transubstantiation, I could probably look it up and be better, but is that that's like the belief that it's actually turning from a wafer and wine to the body and blood of Christ. So I believe that's what transubstantiation means. And if I'm wrong,
Oh,
I just said this in front of 10,000 people and don't know what I'm talking about. That would
it
suck.
sounds like it's a word that's bigger though than that particular thing. Like transubstantiation, trans to go through, substantiation would
right here.
be like validity
It,
or something.
yeah, but the churches get to create the language. So this says transubstantiation, Christian theology, especially in the Roman Catholic Church, the conversion of the substance of the Eucharistic elements into the body and blood of Christ. I nailed it. Only the appearance of bread and wine still remain.
Oh,
Isn't that
all right.
interesting
I thought
though?
it was,
Like I'm not, people know I was raised Catholic, so I get a little bit of love here, but isn't it crazy that like there's, I think it's wrong to believe it. I'm just saying like there's a legitimate belief that they're like, it becomes, and there's a word for that. This is the turning of this to that. I guess it's like, what's there another word that's like trans something that's like, is it called like, it's transmutation or something like that. It's like turning, like, it's almost like alchemy or something like that. Where it's like turning, because what's alchemy? It's turning like basically like lead to gold, or its ability to change.
alchemy's like in like Harry Potter or stuff, isn't it? Like to like fire, like
It says
here
the medieval chemistry based on the supposed transformation of matter. It was concerned particularly with the attempts to convert base metals into gold. I was on it again, man. I guess I'm glad I paid attention in vocab class or whatever that is.
yeah. All right. Here's a comment. Girl Scouts are teaching lower girls it's easy to stand out on the corner and okay, I'm not reading that one.
No more.
Come
oh
on.
yeah, come on,
Come
bro.
on, people. What are you doing?
Joanne Klokoff said, "Great to see you reached 500K. Way to go." I know we brought that up, but I still thought that was neat. I think this is good. This is from Lucy Goosey, who's been read on this podcast as well several times, I believe. It says, I started watching this channel because I'm not a dog whisperer and had serious dog issues. I kept watching because of the practical, easy to apply, consistent methods that made a ton of sense and worked. My dog got better, but I keep watching because I got fascinated by dogs, dog psychology, and the dog training world. Now I'm in the pod, haha. The point is the magic that Joel offers something valuable for anyone who has a dog or dogs in their life. From the new dog owner with a puppy to the prospective dog trainer, another great podcast. Agree on the cookie cartel and on both taste and function. Laugh and then smiley face. That's a good comment, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's funny.
I would like to apologize to Girl Scouts. That's my apology segment. I was harder on them than I was on the cartel, so I think that warrants a apology segment.
I would like to apologize to listeners for my terrible lack of light in the last podcast and my total sluggishness and desire to get off the phone as quickly as possible, or whatever podcast. That was rough. I had the heat sweats or whatever they call it. I don't know. It was body. What do they call it? Body chills, whatever it was. It was not good.
Yeah,
so
chills.
just,
yeah, that's horrible, man.
It wasn't good. Yeah, but
chills
show must go on. Yeah,
the show must go on.
Fevers are the fevers are the worst. I thought this was cool. Bailey Smith says, your teaching skills remind me of my dad. He has taught me how to do something, working on a car engine over the phone, step by step. He was in the Army for 23 plus years and taught at an NCO academy. Future Army leaders, basically. Really like this podcast. I figured you'd like that type of.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah. No, I think it's good. Did you do any more comments from the last podcast?
No, I read quite a few. No, I'm done.
There's a lot about the street dogs though, and I think there was one I had. I screenshotted it earlier, I believe. Hold on. I really like this one. And I hate to give too much credit to off-grid dogs, but he was saying, I think this is it. He was correcting Lisa, who had who basically gave the dog quote. He just had I think a more precise definition of it, which was the quote from Caesar was, "Dogs in Mexico are skinny, but don't have psychological problems. Dogs in America are fat, but I get to have a TV show."
Yeah, I saw
That's
that.
a
I don't
great
know what
quote.
I don't know what I get to have a TV show. Oh, like there are problems in this country.
Like no, like there's the dogs are so out of hand in
Yeah, that's what I
America
mean.
that he gets to have a TV show. Yeah, like, but
There
dogs
were-
in Mexico he wouldn't have one because they're not neurotic and have psychological.
Yeah, there were multiple Caesar quotes from last week because I talked about street dogs.
Yeah.
And I was also today thinking about how much better of a trainer Caesar Milan was than the people who hate Caesar Milan. It's
I like that guy.
he is so much better of a trainer than the people who hate him, that I think the people who hate him like almost have like some mental disorder or something. Like they don't have the videos to prove anything, and he has the videos. And isn't it weird that they don't see that? That's like me. I've told about this before. It's like me being like I can throw the football. Like I'm good as a college quarterback or something. Like I'm just not. Like I'm okay at football, but why would I think I'm better than a college pro player? Like it makes no sense. I don't.
Yeah, the
I don't know.
criticism. It's like we have like in the country like a professional critical like criticism. It's like that we feel like there's this weird attitude that like everyone has the right to their opinion, but then they also are under the delusion that people want to hear what they have to say. And so it's kind of like the whole Monday morning quarterback thing, but actual in reality, where it's like I go back to work on Monday after the Super Bowl, and it's like everyone has their own take on, Mahomes and all this, like, what happened, and, they should have done this and they shouldn't have kicked there and all. And it's kind of like, it's a true Monday morning quarterback thing where it's like, but those type of things should always end with like, but what do I know? Because I like have no idea what I'm talking about. Right. So it's like, it's fun to talk, but yeah, at the end of the day, you don't actually, think about like your own job and the things that you've learned and how good you get. And then you think about any type of skill acquisition. Like, remember I talked about that, whatever Dunning-Kruger, I think it was called, effect, where it's like early on you had your confidence shoots to the sky because you're just like, I have it all figured out. I found this guy, I found Zach George, I found, whoever, Dog Daddy, I found somebody online and I've watched all their videos and now I know. And then, but they've never even heard the other side or whatever. And then they start to come down to earth as they realize like, wow, I don't know crap, and I've been humbled like that even on this trip, like where it's like, with certain thing I'm into that I'm like, you think you're better than you are. And then you get served some humble pie and you go, wow, you're hanging your head like, whoa, and then you get that humility back. And I think the beauty is that you get that humility back and then you can learn again, because you realize like you can't, the cup is, you can't fill a full cup, right?
Yeah. I get it. Hey, let's be done.
Hey, I thought we didn't hit you want to do stop at 118?
Yeah.
Will that be good for the pod? Okay.
Yeah, pod 11.
Okay. No breed of the week for this week, right?
We don't. There's almost no breeds that we I don't know what breed of the week. Ask me if you want.
Well, to be fair, last time I was in Hawaii, you said I couldn't name 30 breeds, right? 30, right? You said I couldn't name 30 breeds, and I named them. And on top of that, we've had 42. We probably missed breed of the week on 20 of them, but I know we just didn't pick. We didn't pick the right ones. The one the dog, and I might have mentioned this on a different one, but the one I am interested in is the German short-haired pointer. We might have already talked about it, but that is the dog that I'm interested in right now because I was on a hike.
All right, Velcro dog.
Okay. It is?
You mentioned Velcro. There is Velcro dog as it gets. There's no more of a Velcro dog than that. They don't mature till they're about 4 years old. So they are puppies till they're 4. Roughly. I put them in the same category. Vizslas and Weinreimers, German Short-haired Pointers. Those are all they're all connected to me. They're from the same region of the world. They're essentially for the same thing. They're all crazy. They're all Velcro dogs. They're very similar. They're not the same, but they're very similar dogs. The only dog I've ever gotten taken out by, I got hit and I literally went straight up in the air and fell like this with Bosco and
German Short.
Yeah, Bosco, my dog. They
Oh,
were
wow.
running so damn fast, and I got taken out. I've trained a million of them. They're good. They're they're good looking dogs. My wife wanted one.
They're cool. They're cool looking.
She thinks that, especially with the black heads, when they have normal body spots, then the black heads, they look cool. They're cool like guy's dog, I think. But they're crazy.
But
Out of their minds.
They have a major, they have major skills with hunting now. There's some hunting fools.
Yes. They're working dogs.
So,
yes.
But any pointer, right, is good at pointing out birds, right? That's the theory, or that's the idea behind them all, right?
Yes, yeah,
generally speaking.
just do it, and some of them need to be trained to do it, just like any other. Sometimes.
Didn't you say one of them pointed at a fly?
Oh, and I see a video. I didn't say that.
Oh, I thought you said that. Somebody said like those things will point at like a fly in the living room, like they're so like it's burned into them or whatever. Like this,
it can be.
I don't know.
Can be. I mean, guarding for an Anatolian can be burned into them, or they need to be trained to guard the sheep, right? And sometimes they don't. They're just like any other dog.
But how cool is that? Either the Australian Shepherd or the healer, the blue healer, or whatever, like their ability to get like sheep and lamb and other types of stuff back into a kennel. Like I'm sure you've seen those videos where they have like 100 of them out and it just runs around and steers them all into this little corral. Like that's magic right there.
Yeah, that's cool.
I guess I'm easily impressed. Well, the last thing I'll say about this is that I was hiking up that mountain that I usually hike where I find all the poop. And a guy, he had a truck, like kind of a countryman's truck. He had what looked like a crate in the back of the truck. So I imagine he travels with it in the crate or something. And I saw him a couple of times. And as he was walking up, he had like camo gear on, but he was probably 65 or so. And I was like, I wonder what type of dog that is. And I was like, it's probably a pointer. And he goes, is it the German short-haired pointer? Love these dogs, right? I was like, oh, that's cool. And I go, you do any hunting with that dog? He's like, oh yeah, these are hunting dogs, man. He's like, I love them. I've had a bunch of them. And I was thinking, this is a terrible thing to say, but I was like, I want a dog like that. I think I want that dog, right? I was like, Eric's finally going to get a dog. And it takes the biggest crap you've ever seen. And I was like, I'm good on it. And then but luckily this guy actually cleaned up the crap. On that hike. Cleans it up, and I was like, all right, I think I'm good for a couple more years on a dog. So,
Yeah.
How's that for a dog podcast?
There you go. Finish it with dogs.
Yep. All right. Well, hey, thanks for it's good talking to you.
All right. Good talking to you. Love you guys. We'll see you next week.
All right. See you guys.